All right, we are live from Dawsonville, Georgia at the Bowen Center for the Arts. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody is having a good evening, had a good week. We've got a big meeting tonight. We're going to talking about a lot of stuff. We've got some winners to announce. Chuck Murphy is here. He's going to be doing his presentation. We occasionally have technical issues. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that. Tonight we have a new issue in that we forgot to bring an HDMI cable. So right now we're not on the projector. However, we had somebody who lives in Dawsonville went home to get an HDMI cable. So sometime during the first 10 minutes or so, we may actually stop for a second to connect the projector. So just word of warning. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Yeah. Yeah, I had to find my presentation. All right, hang on a second. All right, now we can share my screen. Share. All right, everybody at home, can you see the first slide?
Yes.
Awesome, we're going good now. All right, so welcome. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit of club business. We're going to go over upcoming events. Chuck is going to go ahead and do his presentation. After the presentation, stick around because that's when we're going to announce our mini shootout winners. And then we'll do our photo challenge. Our theme this month is wild. Lisa's not here tonight, but she's going to be running the photo challenge from home. So we usually talk about dues. It's November, so it's time to renew your membership. I'll be sending out an email about this sometime next week, but you can still go to the our website, northgeorgiaphotographyclub.com, and go ahead and pay your fees for your dues for next year. $20 per year for an individual, $30 for a family. If you are a new member who has joining for the first time, if you join now, you'll get the rest of the year plus all of next year. Main thing with membership, you get extra benefits. You get to enter the monthly challenges. We have our free mentorship program. We have our secret Facebook page, workshops. We have reduced pricing to special events, our annual picnic and Christmas dinner. But non-paying members can attend regular meetings and go on day trips with us. And just so that you know, when you pay your dues, not only do you get those benefits, but you help out the club. All profit goes to club expenses, things such as rent for the Bowen, where we are tonight. This room is not free. Equipment such as the projector that we hope to be able to use a little bit later this evening. And another HDMI cable and the microphone. Some events sometimes we'll go ahead and pay the fees for that, like when we have the big shootout in the spring. We paid everybody's entry fee for that. Zoom is not free. So all of the money that's paid to the club goes back to club expenses. So we are going to have, we talked about this a little bit last month, and Dick sent did a post on this on Facebook last month about some of the changes we have for next year, volunteers and incorporation. So Dick is kind of handling that, so I'll let you talk right now.
Okay, so we got
some people to volunteer to do some things to help us out, and that is hugely appreciated. And I have talked to a few of them, and we'll be talking to more of them over the next few weeks. Oh, by the way, this is a mic test. Can you guys on Zoom hear me okay?
Got a thumbs up?
Okay.
Somewhat, but not very well.
That better? I need to jack it, hold it, cut it. Turn up the gain.
You need to be a little closer to the mic.
The mic's right in my mouth. No, I've got to turn up the gain on the receiver.
That's better.
That's better? Oh, that's because I'm close to my. Anyway, I will talk louder. The next step to that is that we need to form ourselves as a not-for-profit foundation. And the first two steps of that are, first of all, we have to construct and approve bylaws or articles of incorporation. I have started hacking on that, starting from the bylaws of a couple other camera clubs. But the second step of that is we have to have a board of directors. So we need some volunteer directors, at least 3, none of whom are related to each other. Pardon? The board, well, the board will have the duties of whatever we put in the bylaws. So TBD. But generally speaking, the board of directors is sort of 2 things. One is sort of advisory to the officers of the club, and the other is sort of I don't know, a court in the sense of approving or disapproving of whatever it is the officers decide they want to do. So if we go off in some wild tangent, the board can say, wait a minute, don't do that. And one of the other issues that we will have to face, which I would like people to think about, is so far this club has never held an election for any office. And I think it would be wise as a corporation or a foundation if we did. And so part of what we will have to put in the bylaws is some verbiage about terms of office and how often elections are held and things like that. So think about those questions. At some point here in the next little while, I will publish the bylaws so people can see what I've written and ask for feedback. We need this to be a cooperative venture. So that is where we are.
And the board of directors also, they can't be club officers. So for example, I can't be on the board of directors unless I'm no longer president. So, you know, we will need people who are not club officers to do that. But we'll work out the details over the next few weeks. So stay tuned on Facebook and watch for emails about that. Dick has just sent the first draft of the bylaws, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but we'll get that to people soon. All right. You have anything else?
So the other thing I normally talk about is upcoming events. We will be talking in a minute about the Christmas party, but in terms of next year, I'm open to any and all ideas. I will be out of the state the last part of April and the first part of May. So if anybody wants to go hunting wildflowers or waterfalls or anything in that period, you're gonna have to figure that out on your own. I expect I will go hunting waterfalls and wildflowers before that, but we'll see what Mother Nature does in that regard.
And I think we've got 2 new people, 2 new volunteers to help out with events. So I don't think we'll be lacking on events. And we will also, if you have any ideas for workshops, we don't have anybody right now to be in charge of workshops, but if you know somebody who might want to present something, whether it's water drop photography at a meeting, or like if you know somebody like Mike Richardson, just a name drop, who does portrait photography, you know, just contact me or Dick, and we can get it arranged. You know, you don't have to do the work if you just kind of let us know who to contact. All right, give a second. The HDMI cable is here. We're gonna see if we can get this up on the projector. Doesn't that usually come on first? Talk amongst yourselves. Whoa. All right. People at home, can you? Well, I guess you're still seeing what's on Zoom. The people here can see the projector. They can see the slideshow now. So already it is working. All right. So,
And I should publicly thank Jason Blaylock for pointing out what Mike was doing wrong.
yeah, we all discovered there's a setting in the slideshow that is a default setting and the box is checked, and we didn't even know this existed. And we took the check away and we think we're going to be good. But of course, if Dick had remembered the HDMI cable, we'd have been already set up. So, all right, the holiday party. So that's really the only event we have planned right now. We have not done this in person since the pandemic, so we're really excited about this. It's going to be December 17th at 5 p.m. That's a Saturday. And Helen and Alex Holloway, who are two of our members, are going to host it in their home in Dawsonville. They host a lot of parties. Helen, who brought us our HDMI cable. So you want to tell us a little bit about your house, and then Lisa's going to talk a little bit about how we're planning the party. Or Alex is going to tell us. Where's the microphone? Is it this one?
Very fancy, isn't it? Portable mic. Okay, so yeah, we're inviting everybody to our house for a Christmas party on the 17th. We're a little bit out in the woods. So we've got a nice long driveway, plenty of places for people to park. We could probably fit, I don't know, 30, 40 cars there without too much trouble. And if there's any extra space needed, we can park around the barn as well. So we should be good for that. The house itself, I believe, was designed for entertaining, so lots of open space. So, you know, feel free, everybody come. The only thing that we ask is if you're going to bring children, they need to be supervised. There's a pool out the back, and I would hate for anything to happen to anybody there. So that's the only thing I'd say there. We hope that as many people as possible come, and we can have some fun. Thanks.
All right, and Lisa, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, can everybody hear Lisa?
Yes.
You're you're all gonna have to bear with me during my 2 agenda items tonight. I'm dealing with the flu, so
Right.
I sound terrible and I look
Wait,
worse.
wait, hang on, Lisa, we're gonna turn up the volume. Did you get your volume turned? Okay, go ahead and try talking.
Can you hear me?
The people here in the room
Yeah.
here,
You're good?
Yes.
just listen
Okay.
closely.
Okay.
All
So
right.
first, thank you to Alex and Helen Holloway for generously offering the use of their home for our holiday party. We're planning to have a potluck dinner. The club will provide the main course and paper products, and I will be sending an email out to the membership over the weekend with links for you to RSVP if you're coming to the party, and also a link to sign up for the potluck. So we have a coordination of what people are bringing, so we don't have 10 people bringing dinner rolls or some other craziness like that. So watch for an email this weekend to members. And if you don't see one, please feel free to reach out to me. Like Mike said, that the party will be December 17th. It's a Saturday at 5 o'clock. And we are looking forward to having a really good time. Thank you.
And remember for paid members, so if you're not a paid member, you're not going to get an email. So go ahead and join or renew your membership. Couple things we're gonna do at the dinner. We always announce the photographer of the year, so that will be announced at the dinner. But we're doing something different with the monthly themes for next year. Rather than us as a committee just saying, here are your themes, we're gonna draw them out of a hat or out of probably the same box we use for the mini shootout. We have about 30 themes in there. We may throw a few more in there, and we're just gonna randomly draw them. We'll draw 11 themes. And we won't assign months to them until later, but the themes will be announced at the meeting. So that'll be a little bit different. So the other thing we have going on, and this is something we're gonna have to move on quickly. You guys may remember when we had Mike Ramey and Jenny Burdett talk to us a couple months ago about the Wilderness Photography Foundation exhibit. Things have changed about the way it's going to work, and we won't get into those details. But basically, I think he's got several clubs that are going to participate, and he has reserved 8 spots for the North Georgia Photography Club. I have told him that we are going to participate. It's basically, for those who aren't aware, it's a traveling exhibition next year and into 2024. It's going to be at least 6 galleries around Georgia and Tennessee, including the Bowen in July. And I think they're trying to get it up to 8 total exhibits. The subject manager is going to be nature photography from anywhere in the United States. You're going to have to submit, well, if your entries are selected, you'll be submitting framed photos. There's no size limit of the frame. I believe the framed images are due around the end of February. So what we're going to do is we have to figure out on our end, because we only found out about this week. We'll put information online on how you can submit images for our 8 entries. It'll probably, Dropbox will probably be involved. We'll have a judging committee that will select the 8 images. There'll be a blind selection like we've done in the past. I won't be one of the judges because usually all this goes through my Dropbox and I see everybody's name, so it's not fair for me to judge. So we'll do a blind submission. And then if your images are selected and are in the exhibition, you have to agree to be willing to sell your image. If your image sells, you will receive 100% of the sale minus whatever the gallery's commission is. So it could be 30 or 40% commission for the gallery. I think each gallery is different. So watch for those details in the next week or two. We're probably going to make a submission deadline for the club around mid-December, because we have to turn the entries into WPF at the end of December. So I think there's a couple of other things he's got going on. There's going to be a photo book that they're going to make out of this and some other stuff. It's really, if you make it in there, it's prestigious. It's an honor that he asked our club to participate. So basically your best fine arts photography, and watch for the details to be posted on the Facebook page, and watch for an email probably sometime next week. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and get ready to start our presentation with Chuck Murphy. You ready, Chuck? All right. I got a little biography here. And Chuck has some props that I don't know that the people at home probably won't see, but the people here will. Chuck has been an avid photographer for over 5 decades. He has been shooting digital photos since 1997. His photo expeditions have taken him on trips around the world, 44 countries, and to all 7 continents. He has previously taught over 35 photography courses for Ollie at UGA, UGA Continuing Education, the Georgia State Botanical Garden, and other groups, as well as speaking at various photography clubs in North Georgia. His photos have been published in the Athens Banner Herald, the Jackson Herald, Popular Photography, and Outdoor Photography magazines, and in the National Wildlife Federation magazine, calendar, and holiday greeting cards. Also,
That's not distracting in any way, is it?
he's right behind my shoulder. Also, the hardcover editions of the 2019, 20, and 21 Birdwatching Photography Award books. Locally, his photos have been displayed in curated exhibitions at Linden House Art Center, Oconee County Arts Foundation, the State Botanical Gardens of Georgia, Chattahoochee Nature Center, and the Georgia Museum of Arts.
Yeah.
So give us a second and we'll get Chuck's program set and going.
Okay.
All right. All right, and we have handouts here and they're PDFs, and I'm going to try to post them on Facebook sometime this weekend so that you guys can see it. All right, Chuck, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me change the angle of that, so I'm not decapitated. How's that?
He's a little taller than me.
What's that?
Said you're a little taller than me.
Yes, I think I got
Everybody's
it.
a little taller than me.
It's a treat being able to sit down. First off, thank you very much for having me. It's a treat to be out here. I was here 3 years ago. I had a lot of fun that night. So I volunteered to do this again because I've done this for 2 of the photo clubs in the last couple of weeks. Special thanks to HDMI lady for running home and bringing the cable so that the people in the audience here can see the show. And also, I want to congratulate the leaders of this club. I live in Athens. We had a photo club in Athens called Athens Photography Guild. I was a member from 2009. And during the pandemic, the whole thing shut down and folded, unfortunately. We had close to 200 people on the mailing list. I think about over 50 paid members and about 50 people would show up for each meeting. We could not keep it together. It shut down, unfortunately, sad event. So Dawsonville versus Athens, which you think would be more likely to be able to support a photography club. So congratulations to your leadership here. Great job keeping this going and thriving. Okay, before I launch into the show, a couple guidelines. Can you hear me okay here? Those of you across the state and across the country on Zoom, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
If I fade out, somebody shout. Okay. You've probably been to a lot of presentations where somebody says, whatever you do, stifle yourself, hold your questions, if any, to the end. This is the opposite of that, okay? You're going to need to stay awake. This is going to be interactive. I will be asking for feedback along the way, and there will also be time at the end for questions, but be prepared to jump in as requested or whatever. If you have questions along the way, please just speak up. Don't expect to save time at the end. I'd rather answer them in line before everybody gets lost, okay? What I'm presenting tonight is my set of opinions. This is not doctrine. This is not law. I am that person your mother warned you about. Always opinionated, always outspoken, occasionally correct. So opinions, and I'm always interested in alternate opinions. One of my favorite reasons for doing this is that I learn a lot. I learn a lot putting these together, and then I learn a lot from the feedback in the group. So I do not have an exclusive on all the bright ideas in the world. Okay, I think we're ready. Talking about alternate and advanced composition. I'm big on composition. I delete zillions of pictures, just it might be sharp, properly exposed, and the rest of that, but if the composition doesn't appeal, it's junk. So I'm here tonight to share some of my ideas about both basic initially, and then getting into some of the different ideas I have about composition. So okay. I am stuck. I hit the buttons that advanced it before and now nothing's going. Help!
Oh, use this keyboard.
I was. Yay! So that should work. Okay, that's me. My favorite lens and one of my favorite birds. Me trying to make a photo in the backyard, and this is how it goes. So, first question for the group here. Do you like this photo? If not, speak out. Okay, Ms. HDMI, what's wrong with this photo? Anybody, everybody, shout it out. What's that? No rule of thirds. That's good. If anything, it's the opposite rule of thirds.
I would turn it the other direction.
They can't see your hands. You'll have to speak up.
You can turn this down.
I would turn it.
What the gentleman said is there's more room behind that horse than there is in front. That's going to be something we talk about later on. What else?
Since the animal's facing that way, I would personally have more of the man sort of that way than behind it.
Yeah, when you got an animal or a person in the picture, you want more space in front than behind. Otherwise, it's crowding. What else?
There's also no context.
No context. Okay, there is a bird in there. Can you see the bird? Okay, anybody else? There's more, but
Can we talk online?
I'm sorry, somebody on Zoom, what was that?
Yeah, can we say something if we're on the Zoom about it?
Yeah, I can barely hear you. What's the
Okay,
question?
okay, one of the things that I see is that it doesn't seem to be in focus on the subject matter. It seems to be the depth of field is in front of the zebra more so than in back of the zebra. So what you have is the bird and the top, I guess the top feathering or the hair on the top seems to be
Focus
out of
and
focus.
depth of field issue.
Yeah,
Yeah, is it possible to turn that up so we can hear the questions better?
Let's see if we can turn up the volume on my laptop.
Okay, I'm not touching it.
One other question is, if the bird is the subject,
It's 100%.
do you really need to be that far out? Can you zoom in? Is a zebra really understandable as a zebra without seeing the whole thing?
Let me summarize that question. If the bird is the primary subject, do you really need to be that far out? That is what this is about. Okay, I took that picture. That is not a picture I would put in an exhibit. I'll show you the picture that did go into an exhibit and that I've had hanging in the dining room for some time. That's not the picture, sorry. So normally when I'm doing a presentation, I get a preview of the slide that's coming up. I forgot I had that slide in there. Does everybody know who that guy is? Everybody knows Eeyore. Does that striped horse and Eeyore, do they remind you of each other? Yeah, that's a sad looking zebra. Okay, here's the picture that I would put into a presentation, is this guy. Okay, it's unusual. Does anybody here not know what an entire zebra looks like? Okay, nobody's raising their hand. And as the prior questioner said, if the point of the photo is the bird, why not highlight the bird? So that's what I've done here, okay? We'll go back to rule of thirds later on, but if you notice where the bird's bright yellow beak and bright yellow eye are, I can tell you that is an exact rule of thirds intersection. And to me, the photo is also pretty sharp, and I like the fact that it's an uncluttered background. So probably an unusual crop, but to me, this got the point across that we got a red-billed oxpecker. He's not riding an ox, he's riding a zebra and sort of out there for a ride. So that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. Comments or questions? Love it or hate it?
But is that actually a crop out of that original picture?
The question was, is that actually a crop out of it's not a crop out of the prior photo. It is the same oxpecker and the same zebra.
From the same distance, so it's much longer.
I think I was shooting, what I had at the time was Canon's 200 to 400 zoom with a built-in 1.4x teleextender. And I expect I zoomed farther out and then still cropped further. And then the other thing, I'll be mentioning this later on. If you remember the prior picture, the zebra and the bird were both facing the opposite direction. And okay, do not ever do this with architecture or people, but you won't get away with it. But when I'm dealing with animals, I've got a strong preference. If you look at my website, you will notice that 80% of my birds, animals, and the rest of that are facing right. I will come back to this point later on, but in our Western culture, we read left to right. Okay, Eastern culture, some other cultures read top down or right to left. But for whatever reason, I feel I like an animal picture. I like them facing right. I try in both directions and say most of the time I end up saying, yeah, I like this one better going that way. So other comments or questions?
Yeah, and the other third, that's where you have the center of the main.
The what?
The main one, you see?
Yeah,
So the bird is about the same height as the main, maybe a little bit shorter, that gives it this
yeah.
nice balance.
Comment was that notice the whole zebra is not in the picture, but the entire mane as cropped is in the picture, and it sort of forms a diagonal line that sort of guides your eye. In case you didn't notice the red bill, it is going there. So we're sort of getting the idea here. To me, this is a much stronger picture than the Eeyore one that I showed you previously.
May I add something else on that?
Said, that you go from the bird, the name, to the eye, so it makes a circle.
Okay,
Doing the picture longer.
thank you. Keeps you in the picture longer because you start at the bright red beak, go across to the mane, and it leads you back and around in a circle to the bird, and then you get lost going in circles. Is that? Yeah, no, good point. I like that. Okay, onward. Okay, not the first thing, but the next thing I want to talk about, not everything has to be a prize-winning image, okay? We all shoot snapshots, correct? So the first thing to keep in mind to me is, why are you shooting? Why are you pushing that shutter button? So talk about the difference between snapshots versus photographs. This is a snapshot. This is my 2-year-old grandson. His first word, and about 2/3 of his words now are ball, and the other third is stick. So he likes balls. This is just a quick grab shot from the phone. I like it. Okay, he's out there in front of the house. There's a lot of clutter, but his exposure is okay, and it gets his happy expression holding a ball. This, I think practically all of us do this too. This is recording nature. This is not an attempt at the cover of Fungi Monthly, something like that. This is somebody recording. I found this interesting fungi out of the backyard, and I thought I'd share it with all of my fungi friends on Facebook. I think it's cauliflower. Is anybody, any mycologists here? I think it's a cauliflower fungi, and it was worth sharing. Is it ever going to be in an exhibit? Probably not. But most of us, I think, do make photos just for the record, right? As opposed to this, one of my I shoot more birds than anything else, and this bird is one of my favorites, a blackneck stilt. But this is never going to be in a field guide, correct? I like it because it's a simple composition. It's got complementary colors, blue and gold. This is really right as the sun is clearing the horizon. And the other thing I like is decluttering photos. Is there much that can be subtracted here? Not a lot. Okay. So this is not prepared. I will, actually. I like that so much. I'm digging. If you can hold that up there. That is the back of my business card. And it's been in, well, there's a big copy of it hanging in my photo studio, and I've sold a couple copies of it. To me, it's a photograph. I like it. You may not, but that's the sort of thing that I like. It's practically an abstraction with the oval of the ripples in the water and the crossed legs of the stilt. So, quiz question. We're talking about snapshots and photographs. Is this a snapshot or a photo? Or both?
Snapshot, I think.
Comment on Zoom. What was that, please? Okay.
Snapshot.
Snapshot. probably not, yeah, it's not going to go into an exhibit, but it will be shared. It's been in a number of these talks. I did put this out on Facebook with a request for a caption and anybody's opinion as to why they do this. My favorite answer is from a nephew who lives in DC. He said, this is preparation for walking across your kitchen counters. The cat, this is a cat we fostered for a while. His name was Sherlock. We named him that because all three of us knew that he was way smarter than me or my wife. Okay, basics, basic composition rules here. Rule of thirds, also called the tic-tac-toe rule. So you're driving down the road. You see the world's most beautiful tree. So you slam on the brakes, jump out of the car, and take this picture of the tree. Comments? What? Bullseye. As in, go for it. The opposite of rule of thirds again. What else? There's a lot. Jump
Okay,
in.
I'm not crazy about those houses on the right side. I think that doesn't do anything for the elements of the picture itself.
Don't like the buildings on the right side. What else? There's a bunch. Jump in. Anybody else? Too much right
If
in the
you
middle.
didn't-
Basically, the horizon is pretty close to going across the middle, which, I mean, rules are made to be
If-
broken, but yeah, not a great idea. Anybody else?
If you'd have moved about a few yards to the left and got a little closer and made it so that the tree was the only thing there with the blue sky behind it and, remove everything else, and place it to one side, it would have been so that the shadow was to the right like it is. I would have loved it.
Or at least it would be better. There's a whole series of suggestions there, and I agree with every single one of them. So this, okay, not, didn't we all do this when we got our first camera and the first roll of film way back? Okay, you stick the subject right in the middle and you click the button and on with life. So here's an alternate version that addresses some of those issues. As noted here, the tree is smack dab in the middle, horizontally and vertically, and the horizon is going halfway between. So this is everybody's first shot at it. I don't think anybody innately shoots rule of thirds, but this is typically what you do. Okay, as opposed to, this is basically a different crop of the same image out of the camera. So now what do we got? It was mentioned that rule of thirds here. So the horizon is at a bottom rule of thirds. The tree, due to the crop here, is now rule of thirds vertically to the right. And a couple other things have happened. Number one, we've lost those white buildings on the far right-hand side. And I'll tell you something I like. It's subtle, but to me, it makes a difference. Notice the top right corner. There's a puffy little cloud up there that was not there before. And to me, that sort of balances the pretty tree in the bottom left-hand corner. So I would contend this is better, but I still see several other things. Anybody jump in with things they would do to make this better? What's wrong? What could be better?
The shadow is cut.
The shadow is cut. Why didn't this photographer just use his feet and walk 20 feet to the right and get the whole shadow in? Because that's a really pretty oval shadow. Great suggestion. What else?
One of the things I see in this picture is that it lacks emotion. More vibrant skies,
Okay,
maybe.
sorry, we had two people talking at the same time.
I'm sorry.
In person. What was yours?
I said, I thought you caught the shadow out and you changed the. Jump off the right side of the
Yeah, we can't see the far right edge of the shadow here in the room because that's where the Zoom gallery is. But yeah, the shadow, that pretty oval shadow should be included one way or another. And there was a comment that came in over Zoom.
Okay, what I'm seeing that makes me a little uncomfortable with the shot is that the shot, although it has its compositional elements to it, it lacks emotion. I like to look at a picture and get some kind of feeling of emotion. The skies are very bland, okay? And also the land itself is bland. So you have nothing more than the tree. And in essence, you would like to give it a little more environment, a little more push, so that it adds a little more interest to, from the viewer's perspective.
Boiling that technical comment all down, it's boring, right? There's no story here. It could be cropped better, but it's still sort of a dark tree in the middle of the field. One more comment.
Why did you put the tree in the right rather than the left?
Question was, why did I put the tree on the right rather than the left? No good reason, just for the purpose of this presentation. This was what I could do to crop it and get the tree in a rule of thirds intersection, just to highlight that rule and make it better. It's not by any means any kind of a landscape masterpiece. There's a whole bunch of things. A couple of the things that I would have done over on the right-hand side, the other right. Over on the left, on the horizon, I can see a person there coming up over the hill. To me, that's distracting. That would be fairly easy to clone out, and also pretty much dead center on the hill. It looks like there's another person coming up over the hill. Those are distracting. And I don't like the tree that's half in the frame on the very far left edge of it. So there's a whole bunch of things that could have been better. But I show the picture just in contrast between the worst possible case and some things that made the thing better. Onward. Okay. Raise your hand if you've never taken this picture. You're out at a lake at sunrise, at sunset, and golly, that sun is so beautiful, right? I don't even have to ask you what could we do different here? Well, the horizon is smack dab across the middle, and the sun and its reflection are smack dab vertically, horizontally across. So we got perfect crosshairs there on it. Okay, this is not my photo. I borrowed a few of these, unless I indicate otherwise, these are my photos. This is not my photo, nor is this. So it's just an example of a different sunset picture. So down at the bottom there are my comments. What's good about it? Rule of thirds. If you look at that, we got a bright horizontal line 1/3 of the way down. We got the horizon, basically 1/3 of the way up from the bottom. On a vertical axis there, the sun and its reflection are 1/3 of the way over. And as a bonus, I like diagonals, and that dark line of trees there sort of draws your eye across the thing, one side to the other. So is the world's greatest sunset photo? No, but compared to the first one, okay, we're making progress here. Comments? This is, gentleman in the rear likes the first one better, which is fine. There are no perfect answers here. You can do whatever you want. There were a lot of those like that. Okay. Another rule, even or odd. This is not something we are taught. From everything I've read, this is basic human physiology. We prefer things, not just things in photos. But if you take a course in flower arranging, architecture, interior design, painting, or whatever else, you're going to be reminded that people in general like to see an odd number of things rather than even. So I've got a photo here, 2 sandhill cranes that I shot in Sweetwater Wetlands in Florida. So there's the 2-bird version of it. Okay, there's 2 changes coming up here. See if anybody picks up on it. So that's the 2-bird version. This is what's actually shot. Do you like the 2-bird version or the 3-bird version better? 2 birds? 3 birds?
I like 2 birds.
The comment was, this gentleman likes the 2-bird version better than the 3-bird. Okay.
It's too crowded.
If you have a shotgun, you can make that photo or clone it out as I did for this demonstration. One other subtle difference. Let me go back and forth again. 2-bird version. See if you can see one other difference. 3-bird version. What else is different? Okay. They can't see your hands. Yeah, the angle of the bottom bird. Here's the 2-bird version. I didn't like this. To me, horizontal is boring. So I cropped this thing. I mean, who knows? I may have held the camera crooked on this one, And this may have been the angle that that bottom bird, all of the birds were actually at. I like a little bit of a diagonal slant to that. To me, that makes it more interesting. Okay. What's one example when two things in the frame are okay? Call it out if you figure it out.
You
Nobody?
can use two things in a frame that are equal, using equal numbers, when it creates a sense of balance within the photograph and creates a harmony within a photograph. For example, you talked about negative space before, and sometimes to fill in a negative space, you can have two images to create that balance, so to speak.
Okay, I think I couldn't hear the comment
Okay.
very well, but I think it had to do with sometimes two items provide balance, and the negative space between them can make for an appealing photo. Absolutely correct. The other thing, the thing that I had in mind is if you're out shooting couples, you know, that's a natural. That's what you got. This is me and my wife decades ago on the beach, but you notice the horizon is down there. We got all of us in there. Nobody's head or feet are cropped off. And to me, it's okay. It's about as good as it's going to get with the two of us. It is not necessary to go out and rope in a random stranger to make a third item in the photo. That is still me on the left, not this guy. Okay, how about this one? Comments, questions? I mean, clear blue sky, that's what was happening that day. We have a reasonably well exposed and focused picture of a bald eagle. Is there anything happening? Is this dramatic, dynamic? Okay, I got a head shake. Anything else? Any comments?
Boring. Terribly boring.
What, did somebody say terrible? Yeah.
I said terribly boring.
Terribly boring. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. As opposed to same bird, a couple frames later, cropped differently. Instead of this totally boring horizontal thing, and the bird, there's no story. Oh, it's an eagle. This, to me, is a lot more interesting because the bird's on this diagonally across the frame, and it looks like something's happening or about to happen here. So same deal. This was not just, I don't know. There were a lot of pictures that day. This is what I was getting at. To me, this thing is telling a story. It's a way more dynamic, way more interesting picture. I like diagonals. I will take anything with a diagonal over something that's just totally horizontal or vertical. One of my favorite compositional elements is S-curves. This is, I live in Athens, where the State Botanical Garden of Georgia is, right at the entrance, right inside the entrance. They have a lot of daffodils that bloom every spring. I made a trip down there one weekend to see if the daffodils were blooming. They weren't. Came back the next weekend, nothing happening. The third weekend, finally got this whole field in bloom. I was there with a couple cameras and several lenses, and I knew I wanted something. I felt that there was a photograph to be made there. I was wearing old grubby clothes, so I was able to lie down in the dirt, try lots of different angles, shoot high, shoot low, shoot from the left, shoot from the right. And this is the one that I selected because to me, I've got an S curve. Do I have that? No. Your eye is sort of led there, left to right, up from the bottom left up to the top, and then swooping down across the bottom there. This was shooting, lying down there, taking fire ant bites and collecting ticks in order to get the one that I felt was the most interesting. The other thing I like about it, again, complementary colors, blue and yellow. When things are on the opposite side of the color wheel, to me, that's a more interesting photo than when everything is just bland together. That makes a more interesting thing. A tidbit that I have to share. When I was there working on this thing for a while with various cameras and lenses, somebody, I don't know if it was man or woman, I heard somebody stop, pull off onto the grass, also saw the daffodils, heard the car door slam, heard the person was out of the car for about 15 seconds, probably grabbed one shot with a cell phone, jumped in and drove off. And to this day, I wonder, I would love to see what they got compared to what the ticks and the fire ants and the rest of that got for this thing. Any comments about this? Love it or hate it? That's coming. The question was, you may have just been taking a picture of me lying in the dirt. Okay, stay tuned. That one's coming up. Okay.
I like it. I can see it reversed.
Oh, comment was reverse it, flip it left to right, lead it in.
So that it tends to, the eye does tend to follow toward the right and,
Yeah,
it kind of goes out of the frame. And I
Yeah.
wonder if it will reverse, if it would tend to bring you back into the photo.
would tend to bring you back into the photo. Good suggestion. Where were you when I was finishing off this picture? I like that. I think it's a good suggestion. Actually, I mean, it takes 2 clicks to try it. And I do that. I will try it both ways. Animals, I typically like it going the opposite direction, but there's rules. Sometimes I wish I'd thought about it on this one, at least to try it. So we'll talk about snakes for a minute. Okay. Straight snakes, S-curve snakes, diagonal snakes, and the rest of this. Okay. Do not worry about this guy. This is it's native to Africa. I think it's a puff adder. And it is a snake. The reason he's straight, this is a snake that doesn't swerve around in S-curves. He actually makes forward progress with ripples down his straight body. So it is venomous, but this is not something you need to worry about in your backyard. This is not my photo. It is, it is a blurry frame grab off somebody's video just for the purposes of showing a straight snake compared to the photos coming up. Okay, this is a photo shoot that I arranged in my backyard. I know this guy through a third degree of separation connection. He's a PhD candidate at UGA. His hobby is herpetology. And just as a free service, he offers reptiles, primarily snakes, and especially venomous snakes for people who have critters in their backyard that they don't like. So if you can get in touch with him, he will come over, capture your snake, and safely relocate it somewhere so you don't try and chop its head off with a shovel and get in trouble. So I told him I would make it worth his while if he did get some interesting snakes to bring them by my place for a photo opportunity, right? So he had 2 on the same day that he was relocating from somebody's property. So I have a photo of this girl next to a yardstick, and she is right at exactly 4 feet long. Do you notice anything else about the shape of this snake? I don't know how many rattlesnakes you've seen. See anything peculiar? No?
It has recently eaten.
Say again?
It has recently eaten.
Doesn't look hungry. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, it looks.
I did not notice this at the time. My wife was keeping, I was here with a buddy as well as a snake handling guy. We had a snake wrangler, the assistant snake wrangler, and me with a couple cameras and lenses. And I did not notice this until I reviewed the picture afterwards. This rattlesnake looks like it either had a very large bunny for dinner last night or is very, very pregnant. And I did not notice it at the time. Something I've learned since. That's what makes this all so interesting. Rattlesnakes only give birth to live young. Most other snakes lay eggs. Rattlesnakes live young. So my wife is out there saying, "You're not going to let that loose. You're not going to let that thing get anywhere out of control, are you?" No, totally fine. But that baby looks, this would be the equivalent of a woman who's about 9 months and 3 weeks pregnant. So I'm guessing we might have been a few hours or a day from. They give birth to 12 to, I think, 21 is the known record babies at a time. So this could have been really exciting if we hadn't finished up the photo shoot and put that girl back in the trash can. So anyway, there, as opposed to the puff adder that we were looking before, now I got an S curve that makes it a more interesting snake, but not great. How about this one? All I've done here is change the crop. And now I've got a diagonal, this exact same frame. To me, this makes it more interesting. And to go even a step further, just flipping that. Okay, see what this one looks like? If you flip it, to me, this one makes it even more interesting because this one feels more like it's coming at me. Well, that one sort of comes at me too, but I like this one going left to right again, with the eye coming in from the top left corner and going down to the bottom right. Comments other than the fact that it's not good to mess with pregnant 4-foot rattlesnakes?
I like them going away from me.
What's a question, comment here first?
You said it's not good to have them brought to your yard.
It's not good to have it brought to your yard unless you're a serious photographer and you trust your snake wrangler. But I mean, something I've learned in the meantime, these snakes are not aggressive. These are ambush predators. And pretty much lie there waiting for something to come into reach, and then they hit it, and they don't even strike that fast. This thing, in the 2-hour photo shoot that we had with 2 different rattlesnakes, there was 1 strike. And the speed of the strike, if I remember correctly, is only like 6.5 miles an hour. Faster than you're going to be able to get out of the way, but it is not like some lightning quick move that you're never going to be able to see. Okay. Here, I'm big in S-curves. So what have you got here? So this guy, I was calling this guy Tim, the timber rattler. And the other snake that the guy brought over was a canebrake rattlesnake. So I named him Cane. So I'm big on S-curves. The canebrake, while we were making photos, I guess he got bored. This is a he, the other one was a she. Curled himself up in this pretty thing. So how do you get a photo of a rattlesnake directly overhead? Very carefully, yeah. If you can all still see me, I did bring photo equipment out to the shoot. I'm going to back up some. So this, if you can see the whole thing, this is a 4-foot selfie stick. I'm going to back up further and try not to go. So all I did is extend the entire 4-foot selfie stick out over the coiled up snake. And then because that's an iPhone and I wear an Apple Watch, it makes it easy to trip the photo from the watch. Okay, without having to tiptoe up to the snake and sneak up on it and hope he's not noticing me and thinks I'm a rabbit. So, and then I just did some manipulation in Lightroom to make it a circular crop out of that. Comments, questions, other than it's not a good idea to shoot rattlesnakes in your backyard with your wife watching? Yeah.
I have a question. I noticed with the way that you use the rule of thirds and the S-curve and everything, it looks like whenever you take a picture, you try to catch it at an angle to where it's coming at you. Is that the goal?
The question, great question. If I can boil that down, the question was, is this a fair summation to say you notice that most of the critters are coming at me as opposed to going away? Yeah, okay. Short answer is yes. This, I think, is pretty much a hard and fast rule. It is a lot more interesting when the creature is looking at you, coming at you, or for birds. I shoot a lot of bird pictures. I've taken a lot of bird photography classes, and I did not bring a bird with me. I'm going to borrow a sunglass case. The rule for bird photography, okay, I like pictures where it's looking at you, babe. I do a calendar every year for friends and family, and one I did, it's the looking at you thing. So that's an allowable picture. A 3/4 view, something like that, that's okay. Occasionally, it's okay to do the straight 90-degree profile, but the preferred thing, instead of being 90 degrees, if you get this, is about 3 degrees towards you instead of a straight 90-degree profile. So that is something I do keep an eye out for. If the bird is straight profile, I will take that shot before the bird heads for South America or something, but I will step 3 steps to the left or right, whichever, to get that 3 degree. If you look at it both ways, I don't have a sample in the presentation here, but yeah, if it's looking away, delete. If it's not at least 90 degrees, delete, delete, delete. Nobody wants to see it. Trust me. They're your pictures. Your mileage may vary. If you like it, do it. Okay. But that's the guideline that I've heard and what I go by. Is it ever okay to center the subject? As opposed to rule of thirds? Yes? Yeah, okay, here's one example. Antarctica. There's a gentoo penguin on the beach there. And if you, I don't know if you can tell, I was informed at the time, she is miserable. They molt all the feathers at the same time. So she went out, fed, got fattened up, lost all her feathers, and she's lying on the beach waiting for the feathers to grow in while she can, so she's just sitting there. I thought it'd be an interesting photo. So I lay down on my stomach in the penguin poop and got closer and closer with my longest lens until I got too close and filled the frame this way. But I mean, rule of thirds, I mean, there's no option here. That's what you got. And no, those red lips, I did not apply artificial lipstick in Photoshop or Lightroom, anything. That is what a gentoo penguin looks like. So no option. That's been in shows. I don't think anybody's ever bought that picture, but I like it. Just an example of you got no other choices. Okay, now we're into alternate and advanced here. Here's a quick run through the topics we're going to be talking about. How do you guide the eye? How, why, and how do you do it? So talking about red and brightness, declutter, leading lines, framing, get close, group shots, conveying motion, pets and kids, and animal tips. By the way, the material is prioritized. I am not going to go into overtime. Somebody in the room here is watching the clock. How we doing? We're good?
Not ready for the 10 minutes.
Okay, we're not ready for the 10 minutes. So I will skip to the end. I don't want to, we're already way past my bedtime. I'm not going to keep you up past your bedtime. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to show you a cover. I don't know how many subscribe to Outdoor Photographer magazine. I do. Here's a cover of a recent issue. And now the question for the group and those of you across the state and across the country, where does your eye go first? Shout it out. What do you see? The 5. What else? Anybody else? There must be another. There's gotta be
Mine
some.
follows the ridge line.
Sorry, say it again loud.
I said, my eye follows the ridge line from left to right up.
Sorry, I couldn't make it out. The clouds. Okay.
I saw the big rock at the bottom.
Okay, down to the bottom. Okay. This is not the actual cover. I doctored this just to make a point here. Now let me show you the actual cover. And now the question is, this time, where does your eye go first?
To the
The person wearing the red jacket. Any opposing viewpoints? I've been on, I take a number of photo workshops with some high-end photographers, people who have stuff published in Audubon magazine and National Geographic. And I was on one trip with 2 people who had stuff in National Geographic, and they said, this is practically a cliche, but they said when National Geographic sends out a crew for a story, there's 4 people involved. There's the producer, the writer, the photographer, and the guy in the red jacket to stand in there and focus the attention of the photographer when they want the people to be. So it's obviously not all photos are like that, but if you read National Geographic and flip through it, you will occasionally see somebody there in the red shirt, the red jacket, the red turban or something. And I think it's not all natural. It's a way of directing your eye. And I'm pretty sure that's why this was set up that way. The other thing, okay, instead of me telling you, what's the other thing it does, having that person in the photo? One word. More interesting. That's good. What else?
Give scale.
Scale. Before we saw rocks, lake, mountain in the background. How big were they? Can't tell. Is this a pile of rocks in somebody's backyard? But with that person in the near foreground, now you got some scale. Holy cow, that's a big lake. Gee, that's a big mountain out behind there. So the whole thing, going back to the one without the person, you know, boring. Nothing happening here. But with the person there providing scale and a focal point with the bright red jacket, get how much that's worth putting on the cover. I did a mini version of this presentation for 4 family members when I was on a family reunion trip up in Wisconsin in August. And the day after, the family group went out to an art museum and we were looking at pictures and somebody called me over and said, "Hey, Chuck, come over here and take a look at this painting. What do you think? What about this? Where does your eye go first?" This painter knew what they were doing. Bright spot there, close to a rule of thirds thing, and a person and dog, wolf, coyote somewhere next to them. So very, very clear focal point and the rest of that.
May I
Here's
add
another
something?
photo.
Okay.
Sorry, painting by the same artist. Okay, the first one sort of told a story. What's happening here? Interesting. Would you buy this painting for 1,000, 500, 200, 50? Comments? Boil it down. What's wrong? There's nothing there. It's flat. It's boring. Not a lot. There's not a lot of contrast. It's, I don't know. You might say, "Oh, I love it. It's so subtle." But there's no story. There's nothing happening. And this is this is the actual wall where that painting was hanging. Right underneath it was this one. And Dick, our master of approval and disapproval at the back of the room, is nodding on this one. So, Dick, what do you like about this one?
So there's, in the top one, there's 2 lines, post line going sort of out there. And there's that streak of sunlight going horizontally.
Yeah, there's the bottom one's just got a lot more going on. We got 2 horizontal rule of thirds. The reflection of the sun, which is pretty high in the sky, but we got a bright reflection on the water. Yeah, and we got sort of a funnel shape going there, and the clouds in the sky may not actually look like that on the day that the painter was painting it, but I gotta think that was deliberate. The way those lines sort of form converging diagonals to bring your eye back to the focal point of that brightest area in the photo is that reflection. So the whole thing, to me, this is a fairly conscious, deliberate effect to guide your eye around. You take a look. Which of these are you more likely to buy if they were the same price? I would leave that top one in the gallery and see if my wife liked the bottom one. And then we go home and hang some more of my photographs. Okay, but you get the idea, hopefully. Okay, this is what happened here this spring. I post some pictures on Facebook and I follow a bunch of pictures on Facebook, and everybody was saying, "Hey, it's tulip time at the State Botanical Garden. You got to get down to the Botanical Garden and shoot the tulips. They're going fast. You better get there soon." So I packed up some cameras and headed down there to see if I could do any good. So here's an example. I saw things similar to this. I don't think it's bad. Anybody want to call out any good or bad aspects of this? Anything interesting, unique, eye-catching, different? Would this get into a curated show? Okay, I see one gentleman yawning. I would I would say the same thing. This is to me, this is run of the mill. I've got the brightest and reddest thing there in the rule of thirds intersection. That was sort of deliberate, but not a lot going on here. I do different. I look for stuff different. So I'll show you the picture that I came home with and the one that I did show from tulips. I was looking, I knew I wanted red. I knew I wanted to try and follow some of these rules about guiding the eye with the brightest thing in the subject, brightest thing in the frame, and the red flower. And something different. What else? Anyway, what I came home with was this. Oh, the other thing, the guideline for shooting there is if you're making photos, they do not like you walking in their flower beds. So as I've come to realize after getting hollered at a few times, it sinks in. Don't do that. So I had to find the flowers that I was looking at right at the edge, the border of of a walkway, so I didn't have to walk into the bed to get it. So this, I had to search around. I knew I wanted red. I wanted to get it close, and it had to be a red flower up close to the path. So this was shot. I'm holding up, I've got a camera with a very short zoom lens, 8 to 15 millimeter, practically a fisheye. It is a fisheye at the short end of the range. So getting low and getting both the sun and a flower into the frame, and with a very short focal length like that, it bends the horizon. So instead of a straight across horizon with a fisheye lens, you get the curve there. So what did I call this? Oh, I titled the Sun Worshippers. So I got the sun up there, sort of in a rule of thirds place. I got a bright flower standing by itself, isolated against the blue sky, and the rest of these sun worshippers all sort of pointing at the sun. This is not for everybody, but it is one that I would show as opposed to the one that I showed you before. Comments, questions? Okay, with the hands again. There's. Are you trying to say it's sort of a bowl effect?
No, I'm saying there's a distinct subject.
There's a distinct subject. That's a good top. That's a good subject. As opposed to this, what's going on? I got a clutter of tulips. Yeah. How many hundreds of these have you seen? At least this. Okay, I didn't mention this beginning. Something I strive for, something that makes the photo worth it for me to keep, as opposed to delete, 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 is something that merits a second look. And to me, that's not a second look photo. Oh yeah, I've seen tulips before. This is inclined to make me look and see what's going on here. Oh, an isolated red one looking at the sky, and all the rest of those guys are pointing at the sky too. Not for everyone, but to me, along with some of those other things like the coiled up S-curve rattlesnake and some of these other ones, to me, they meet the criteria of, yeah, this merits a second look. Sorry, question? No? I thought I heard a comment over Zoom. Agree, disagree? Anyway, there was a question. Yeah, complementary colors across from the color wheel. We got oranges and bright blue. Good comment. Okay. There was a question before about how come I didn't have a photo of me lying in the dirt, or maybe that's what the person who jumped out of the car took. Because I was doing this and I knew what I was doing and I was hopeful. There were a lot of frames. This was not lie down in the dirt, click, walk away. Okay. There were a lot of pictures. And I was hoping I was going to get something good. You know, when you're staring at an articulated, folded out viewfinder with the sun in the frame and staring straight at the sun, you have no idea what you're getting. So it's, you know, it's spray and pray basically, and sort them out at home and hope you got something. Because for me, it's about a 40-minute trip to the garden, not counting the time to pack it up and the rest of that. So I took a lot of pictures, and this is the one I like. But because I was hopeful I was going to get something interesting, I drafted a bystander and said, "Sir, can I interrupt you? Would you mind taking a picture of me taking a picture?" And okay, this is what I got. So I was there at the edge of a walkway. This is legit. I didn't have to go in there, but I had to do a lot of searching to find a red flower that I could line up with the sun and get close enough to. There's a lot of red ones out there in various other gardens, but I'd have to wade out into the garden and get yelled at again. I didn't want to do that. So I was actually closer than that, but you get the idea in order to make this happen. So that's what's happening there. Okay, what do we got? Okay, it was daffodil season. My wife grows some daffodils. Everybody was shooting pictures of daffodils. I wanted to do some. Before I do a shoot like this, I will do a Google image search and see, you know, if you're whatever, shooting whales, eagles, whatever. I'm not going to go out there first and then see what everybody else is doing for whales, eagles, penguins, or whatever. I'm going to do a little research. Oh, I'm not going to plagiarize. I'm not going to steal their photos, but I mean, there's a lot of smart people out there making pictures. How do you like this daffodil picture? Love it? I think it's terrible. This is what Encyclopedia Britannica had as an example of a daffodil photo. Is this outstanding? Okay, the heads are shaking. No, I was not impressed. I clipped a daffodil from my wife's collection, brought it inside to see what I could do with it. I tried macro lenses, other lenses and whatnot. The photo I ended up using was shot with my iPhone. And this is what I ended up with, which again is more in that category of second look. So it's just against a piece of black felt. I did use special lighting, a ring light, but the camera was just an iPhone shot. And to me, it's I like it better than Encyclopedia Britannica's version. So that's where that was going. Okay, diagonals. I'm going to skip this one. Okay, this is what it's about. It started as a snapshot, and then I decided I really like it. That's my daughter on the left. Oh, the arrow is pointing at my wife over on the right, and my wife is looking at my granddaughter. And they're on the bridge that I built in the pond that I dug out in the backyard there, and we got a blue and gold sunrise. So there's no lines, there's no explicit lines, but to me, what makes this interesting is the way the eye pattern guides your eye through the photo from daughter on the left to wife to granddaughter and guiding you through the photo. I was out making photos in the backyard. I needed a picture of a woodpecker on a suet log. So I brought suet logs up onto the deck and I just sat there with a camera waiting for a woodpecker to land on there so that I could make a picture that I was going to use in one of these talks. And instead of a woodpecker coming to the suet log, lo and behold, a king penguin dropped out of the sky and landed on my deck railing right there. So never wanted to miss a photo op. I whipped out my iPhone and started taking pictures. Okay, this is what this is about, is leading lines. Okay, lines in the photo that guide the viewer's eye to what your subject is. So I cannot point and talk at the same time. Do I have a cursor? Yeah. So I'm going to point. Could somebody, HDMI lady, can you count while I point? Just count. So I've got a leading line here, this deck rail. One. Call them out loud. This one. Vertically right into the penguin. I got a bridge coming across here. I've got a stream, a waterfall here. I got a path here. I've got a crescent in the stone over here. I've got this lake down here pointing straight at the penguin's head. I've got some fence lines over here. And I've got some rays from the sun coming down, pointing at the penguin. I think, oh, and one more. We got this crossbar on my suet support. What are we up to? 11.
11.
Leading lines, a new record. So totally unintentional. I just managed to catch this king penguin. They're fairly rare in Athens, but we have documentation evidence here. So an extreme example of leading lines, guiding the viewer's eye to what you want them to see. Okay, how many of you have taken this picture? Okay, 2 hands went up, the rest of you are lying. So, okay, I saw a beautiful flower. Okay, I have to do it. I have to stand up, right? I saw a beautiful flower. It's between my feet. Look straight down, click, I got it. Move on. Okay. We have all done this. A flower in the middle of the picture. Okay, here's a suggestion. Okay, this is obviously not rule of thirds. Rule of thirds says the the intersection of those, where the check marks are, that's where we'd prefer to put the subject. But instead of just moving the flower there, move your feet a little bit. Notice this photo and notice the following photo. There's one subtle change coming up here. To me, this is the second look version of it, okay? Because I've got the flower down there at a rule of thirds intersection, but in addition to that, by getting lower and getting a different angle and changing the background, now I've got this flower framed by another array of these. I'm not a flower person. Shasta Shasta Daisy, is that what these are? Anybody know for sure? Nobody's disagreeing. We'll go with
Oxeye
Shasta.
daisy,
Say again?
oxeye daisy.
Oxeye daisy, I stand corrected, thank you. But you get the difference. Okay, take a look at this photo. I'm gonna go back to the previous, see if you notice any difference. Any other difference besides the way I posed it and the rest of them? Call it out if you see it.
You can see the water more.
Gentlemen here got it. Yeah, if you're going out to make flower photos, you know, you can carry along a spritzer bottle. I sell these, $49.95. It contains my magic solution of hydrogen dioxide. And from chemistry class, you all know that's the other name for water. You can put a little glycerin in there, I'm told, and it makes the thing even better. But yeah, you can get away with this. A little spritz of water adds a little bit of extra interest to your flower photos, and it's a free, easy trick. Okay, so we got that one. Okay. I'm going to skip that. I don't like it. We are running out of time. Okay. Subjects. Okay. Just used an example, frogs. It was coming into fall. I was putting this presentation together. There were no frogs cooperating to get me the kind of photo that I look. So I took one of the decorative frogs that was out by the side of a pond here. So this is what you see. Oh, a frog. I'll stand up there, get close enough so I don't scare the frog and take a picture of it. Is this interesting? I mean, if that were a real frog, okay. No. I'm a big fan for these kind of things of getting close. So if you're patient and careful and good at this, you can get close to a frog. You can do this with a long lens. If you're patient and sneaky, if you just come in slowly, you can actually get close to a frog and get that kind of a thing, which to me is more in the category of the second look, as opposed to that first one where you're looking down at pets, animals. If there's one rule, it's eye level, get at eye level, okay? So that's the get close version. And if getting close isn't everything you need, then the other option is get closer. So that's a harmless black snake. I used to relocate them because we used to have chickens, and I would collect them, relocate them to a couple miles away and let them, and then more would show up. So I don't even bother with them anymore. But to me, this is in the category of the second look. It makes it more interesting. It's not easy to get a snake with his tongue out, but if you're quick, you can do it. People photos, very briefly. What's wrong with this? Lessons learned. I was delegated. I was instructed to go out and make photos of this group. And that was what was happening. That's all I had to work with. There was no steady shade. There was no clear sun. They wanted to get on with their hike, and the only light available was dappled light. I can't show this. That is the worst light in the world, is the scattered sunlight patterns over the people. With a different group at a different time, the light was better, and the people are arranged instead of firing squad type arrangement or lined up like soldiers or whatever. We got a more interesting arrangement here. Some people standing, one guy kneeling, and somebody in front of the signs, which then provides context. And they're all carrying cameras. Is it brilliant? No, but for a publicity photo for the photo group, it's a whole bunch better than what happened with the hiking group there. I cannot see my titles. Okay. Oh, why you take multiple shots? Trying to take a picture of another photography group. Okay, this is almost correct. See any problems? Yeah, you get this sort of thing. You get everybody smile, click, walk away, and then you go home and take a look at this, and the one lady's got her hand in front of the other person. So keep shooting, keep talking, have your smile line ready, try and get people in some kind of an interesting arrangement. Okay, I'm getting very quickly off of that. How not to take group photos. One more tip here. This I learned, this was a photo workshop in Panama, and I had never heard this before, but I like the idea. If you're trying to convey motion, before hearing this guy, the workshop instructor saying this, My rule was if I didn't get the whole person or critter or tree or whatever in the photo, it's junk. I just hit the delete button. All of it or nothing, just hit delete. But what the guy said is if you're trying to convey motion, you could be better off by not getting complete critters in the photo. So as opposed before he provided that tip, I would have taken a picture like this. Afterwards, I went out with a buddy to hold the flash behind the leaf cutter bugs, lit from behind. But after his tip, this is the picture that I end up showing. So I've got half a bug coming into the frame, two bugs in the middle, and another bug deliberately cut off to convey motion. You get the idea? Another example. Okay, there's the arc. To me, that's the way that your eye is going to go, left to right, marching across there. And I like this one too, okay? Could have backed up, zoomed out, and got all three elephants in there, but which is going to be the more interesting picture? Okay, again, raise your hand if you don't know what an entire elephant looks like. To me, this makes the case. They're moving. I got the front end of mom, I got the whole baby. Got a rule of thirds horizon going across there, and I've got dad's foot and tail heading across. Nice complementary colors of light yellow against the blue. Okay, I am going to skip to the end here so I don't get anybody into overtime. And that, folks, takes us to not that one. That one. The end. So thank you. Again, these are opinions, and I'm an opinionated old cuss. So hopefully you got some ideas here to try something different, try something radical. Keep in mind the second look. What's going to do some good to get me the second look? Get into that curated show or on the cover of a magazine. Okay, Michael, do we have any time for questions, or are we've run out?
Questions, if anybody has questions?
If anybody has any additional questions, anything left over, or did we cover it all on the way?
Anybody on Zoom?
I think we got it. Okay, thank you again for coming. I had a good time. I hope you had some fun and learned some stuff too.
Lots of good ideas there. Thank you, Chuck. All right. Let's see. A lot of thank yous in the chat. All right. All right, we're gonna go back to my presentation.
Tilt the camera down a little.
All right, so before we go and do the monthly presentation, it's time to announce the winners of our mini shootout. So we had our mini shootout last Saturday in Roswell at Roswell Mill, and we drew three categories. And then everybody had 3 hours to shoot those categories, and then they had to midnight to edit and turn in their photos. And the photos were judged blindly, so the judges did not know whose photos were whose. And we're giving out prizes. So first place in each category is going to win a $50 B&H gift card. Second place in each of these categories is going to get a $20 Best Buy gift card, and third place is going to get a $10 Starbucks gift card. And I do have the gift cards with me.
Nice photo.
So,
Great composition.
mhm. All right, so our first category was natural texture. And our first place winner was Michael Amos. Second place, and he's here tonight, Patrick Olmsted. And third place was Michael Gagne. So congratulations to everybody. And Patrick, see me after the meeting for your gift card. Our second category, we used the technical term old timey. And first place went to Lori Smith. And I know I saw her name She's online tonight. Second place went to Ben Moravitz. And third place went to Patrick again. So Patrick, see me afterwards. You get 2 gift cards. And third place, well, I mean, third category. Our third category was Off the Beaten Path. And we had someone sweep the category. Lori Smith got first, second, and third. And she also had first place in Old Timey. So she's going to be getting 4 gift cards in the mail. So Lori, I saw you on here earlier. Are you still on? She's either not on anymore or she's shy, but congratulations, Lori. Lori lives in Rome, so she sometimes we wonder if we have some of our trips or whatever distance is bad. She traveled from Rome to Roswell, so thank you. So next we were going to go, and it's Lisa's turn again, and she is going to do the monthly challenge. So Lisa, you should be able to share your screen. Does everybody have a ballot? Everybody here?
Mike, can you hear me?
Who else needs ballot?
Can you hear me, Mike?
All right, can you share the screen?
No, it says I'm disabled from sharing.
All right, hang on. You should be able to share it. Set to share. Wait a minute. Hang on. Okay, try it now.
Nope, not yet.
So what kind of message are you getting on your computer?
Host, excuse me, host disabled participant screen sharing.
No, I didn't. Okay, let me try this. Okay, try it now.
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, I had to put it on multiple. Did you get a?
All right, can you see my screen?
Well,
No.
Lori just sent us a chat message. She didn't have a mic, but she said she ended up stuck in a wreck on 75 and had less than an hour total to shoot. So, all right. All right, we're not seeing your screen yet. All right, there we go.
Okay. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay, my voice is kind of off tonight. Our last monthly theme for 2022, wild. So keep wild in mind as we go through the photos tonight. For anybody that's new to the club, our photo challenge, like Mike described earlier, is open to members. 1 image per person, not older than 2 years. And we only use single images for this photo challenge, no composites. You must be at a meeting to place in the photo challenge, but we do allow 1 miss per year. And we do give out prizes to the photographer of the year. They win membership for the next year, $100 and a trophy. And we do that by awarding points to the top 5 photos each month. So tonight we're going to ask you to vote for your favorite 3 photos, first, second, and third place. Don't vote for the same photo more than once. And again, keep in mind if it fits the theme wild.
And the theme is
when we're-
wild, not vacation travel. She forgot to change the
Oh,
slide.
so I did.
I've done the same thing.
When we're finished, we'll give this email out one more time, but when you're finished, those of you on Zoom can email votes to me at vote@ngaphoto.club. And Mike will tally the in-person votes and we'll put those all together. So we have 8 photos tonight. Let's get going. This is photo number 1. Two. Three. Four. Five. Six. Seven. Eight. Going backwards. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. And one more time. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 'Again, if you're voting on Zoom, you can email your votes to vote@ngaphoto.club. Back to you, Mike.
Okay, so remember, if you're at home, it's ngaphoto.club, not .com. And feel better, Lisa.
Thank you.
Fine. Oh, yeah. All right, we got 2 more screens. Another look at the winners. Okay. So this was our last meeting of the year. This was the last photo challenge of the year. So we will add up the winners from tonight. We'll post those. And then we were going to announce the winners of the photographer of the year, the photographer with the most points at our Christmas party in December. So we don't have a meeting in December. Our next meeting is going to be January 20th at 7 p.m. here at the Bowen. That is tentative, but more than likely this is where it's going to be. We have a possible presentation for January, but it hasn't been solidified. So I just decided to put TBD. And we don't know the photo challenge theme yet because we're going to choose the challenge themes at the Christmas party. So hopefully we'll see you at the Christmas party, and then we'll see you back here in January. So I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays. Thanks for coming, and we will see you soon. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah.